Why is the Land Rover Defender so damn popular? Last year, Land Rover sold 110,000 of them worldwide. But could this particular version be the very best Defender? It's the 130, which means it's got 8 seats, combined with a supercharged V8 engine. We're going to find out. I'm Matt Watson, and you're watching CarWow. I have to say, the Land Rover Defender is one of the best looking, if not the very best looking SUV on the road today. It's just a cool looking bit of design, isn't it? Being the V8, this one gets 22-inch alloy wheels as standard, though you can get some optional, no cost option actually, 20s if you want to go for more ride comfort. You also get the V8 badging. Now, being the 130, you have a slightly larger overhang at the rear for that increased interior space. Do you know what though? I think that the 90 looks the best, but then the second best looking version of the Defender is this 130. It kind of works with the longer length. I like it. I prefer it than the 110 visually. Now, around the back, my favourite bit about this particular Land Rover Defender, the quad tailpipes. I mean, just how good does that look? No wonder they're so blooming popular. They just look great. Makes you want to own one. One of the problems with the supercharged V8 engine in this car is that the performance really isn't as good as the new 4.4 litre BMW source twin turbo V8 that you get in the Range Rover Sport. So in this particular 130 version of the Land Rover Defender V8, 0 to 60 is supposed to take 5.4 seconds. 5.4 seconds is reasonably quick, but it's not very quick, is it? Gearbox in Sport. Off we go. Good traction. Sounds great. 5.46. So they're not lying, that is the performance it delivers. Slight issue is that for some reason in the 130 version of this car, Land Rover down-tuned the engine by 25 horsepower compared to what you get in the 90s. And because it's heavy as well, so 2.5 tons, this 0 to 60 time is slightly slower than in the Defender 90. So that car will do 0 to 60 in 4.9 seconds. And if they're as accurate with that as they are with this one, that's a whole lot, half a second difference. But the Range Rover Sport with the new BMW engine, way quicker. I mean, it's probably because it's got like 600 horsepower, right? But the performance figures are proper. Now, if you want to see exactly how quick that car is, I'll put a link. It's just up there. Or use the QR code, just scan it with your phone. You can see exactly how quick that car is. The link should take you directly to where I launch it. If it doesn't, sorry. Being a Land Rover Defender, this is a proper off-road vehicle. So you have a low-range gearbox, you have a centre-locking differential, a rear-locking differential, you have an ability to wade at up to 2 foot 9 inches. That's what this is in metric. You also have a load of different automatic settings for driving in various off-road conditions. So if I press this button here, I can go to a grass and gravel and snow program. There's also a mud and ruts program. There is a sand program. There is a rock crawl program, there's your wading program, and then you can configure it just as you'd like it. Also, I've got height adjustable air suspension. If I press these buttons, I can make the suspension rise up. Oh, it's going up, and make it go down as well. Oh yeah. Oh, if you want some shots of some Land Rover Defenders off-roading, here's some now. This engine has so much character. Now we'll listen to this. You get the whine of the supercharged and the real gruffness of the V8. Oh, sounds better than turbocharged cars. Another thing I like about the supercharger is the throttle response. It's just instant. There's no turbo lag. It's just on it. Such a glorious, glorious engine. And it's a shame that it's dying out. This is probably the last new car that it'll go in. This wonderful 5 litre V8 with 500 horsepower. It actually works really well with this auto gearbox. So when I'm in sports mode and manual, shifts are quick. I'm just gonna go down the gearbox and go again. Doesn't get old. And I did all that without going over the speed limit. Listen. Throttle response. Oh. And it's madness having this engine in this type of car. A big, comfy off-roader, and yet you've got a sports car engine. Brilliant idea. Brilliant. While we're on the subject of this lovely 5 litre supercharged V8, let's have a listen to it revving while stationary. Go on then, rev it up. Oh, lovely. And then there's this as well. Supercharger wine. Oh, I'm gonna miss all this stuff when everything's electric. This particular car I've got here costs £117,000. Unfortunately, while I really like the interior design of the Defender, look, it looks cool, doesn't it? It's chunky, there's like exposed rivets, really kind of utilitarian looking while still being rather chic and minimalist. But some of the materials don't feel like the kind you'd expect to find in a car that costs £117,000. So plastics here a bit scratchy, and here and here and down in the lower parts of the door, like door bins. And then there's this, the roof lining. Really, £117,000, it should be Alcantara. And then there's the sun visor. That is, it's a bit of a shame. I'm not feeling the £117,000 worth of money here in the cabin, I'm afraid. There are a few things that do my head in a little bit about the driving experience on this. I'm going to show you now. The turning circle is 12.8 metres. It's a long old vehicle, but it doesn't have rear wheel steering like the long wheelbase version of the Range Rover. That has a turning circle of under 12 metres thanks to its rear wheel steering. As a result, you might find yourself doing some 3-point turns in this that you wouldn't have to do if you had the long wheelbase Range Rover. Why didn't they fit it with rear wheel steering? Maybe they couldn't. Then there's another thing that's a bit weird about this 130 version of the Land Rover Defender. For some reason, the towing capacity is 3 tonnes rather than the 3.5 towing capacity of every other non-hybrid Land Rover product. Why? That 500 kilograms could be key. Then there's this. I've just been driving it in sports mode. However, when I want to go back into comfort to slacken off the suspension a little bit, I have to look down here, press that button. Well, there's a car coming, don't want to do it now. Look down now and then twiddle the knobby to get into the normal mode. Twiddle, no, it didn't do it. Oh, come on, you bugger. I'm going to just press the button instead. There. That is not ideal. Why can't I just have a button on the steering wheel? What's more, I'd quite like the snappy throttle response of the dynamic mode, but the slightly softer suspension of the comfort mode together. Yet with this Land Rover, I cannot configure my own driving mode, so I can set it up just like I want it. Land Rover has decided for me. Now you do get that option on a BMW X7. Oh, and while I'm having a bit of whinge about the drive, let's talk about the economy. Supposed to do about 19.5 mpg, which isn't great to start with. On a cruise, I managed 18 miles per gallon. However, now I've been giving it a little bit of stick, it's dropped to 16.6. And if I continue to give it some stick, it'll probably drop some more. Oh yeah, big fuel bills. Very big. That is gone. 16.5. Oh dear. The great thing about the Land Rover Defender 130 is that as well as having it as a 5-seater, you can have it as an 8-seater. I want to show you this. I can slide and I can recline the middle row. Got it in a very good position here. Lots of knee room, lots of headroom. But as you can see, it's a 3-seater across this centre. So let's just try it out with 3 people in the middle row. So, James, would you mind getting in? And Lewis, if you pass me the camera, I'll just flip it round. Hello, everybody. It's all right, isn't it? And knee room's pretty good for everyone, even taller than average Lewis. There we go, lovely Lewis. Anyway, right. That's not all I want to show you, so I'm going to hand the camera back to Lewis. The rearmost row isn't like many other large SUVs. You see, you don't just have 2 seats in the very back. Have a look at this. There is, in fact, 3 seats. First thing I want to check, though, is what it's like for an adult here in the back. So, come on, James, sit back into this seat, put it all the way back, get yourself nice and comfortable. So I'm average height. So 179 centimetres. Look, knee room is fine, headroom is good. The seat isn't too close to the floor, so I don't feel like my knees are around my ears. This is actually pretty good, but let's check it out in 3-seater mode. Admittedly, this is really for kids back here, but let's give it a go anyhow. So, Lewis, if you give me the camera again, I'll just flip it around. Everybody in. There we go, Lewis is in. Let's get James in here. Pull the seat back. Go on. Oh, struggling there. There we go. Got the seats back. Right, now, this is interesting. So I'm fine here in the middle with my short legs. And Lewis, I'm touching Lewis's knee here, has got enough knee room. So has James, but there is a problem, isn't there, Lewis? Have you got a problem?
Yeah, there is. the wheel well.
So if I look down there, ooh, that gets in the way of your feet, doesn't it? Which I think is a bit of a shame, because actually, in terms of like shoulder space, it's not bad. But I'm sure we can all agree that for 3 kids back here with, you know, smaller feet and stuff like that, they're going to be fine. Also, what's really interesting is that you have an ISOFIX point on the outer 2 rear seats and the outer 2 middle seats, and there's also one on the front passenger seat. It's really, really family friendly, this car. I'm quite enjoying sitting here. It's cold there and I'm just absorbing your body heat, guys. Let's move on. Land Rover has updated the infotainment system in the Defender, but it still isn't the best. Look, it's quite laggy. It's not slick when you're swiping through stuff. Come on, there we go. Yes, there's always a bit of a wait. It's just not smooth. Then if you look at the digital dials, once again, same thing. If I start swiping through stuff, there's just something a little bit like ugh about it. Okay, come on. Oh yeah, press the button and it just doesn't move in a very slick or sophisticated way. Let's try changing some of the layout. Display layout. There we go. Look, it's just not the smoothest, is it? One of the things that really blows me away about this car is that, well, you sit up high in a big comfy off-roader that has air suspension and feels really quite smooth as you drive down the road. Surprisingly, it handles really well. I mean, it's not a sports car, but you can have some fun in it because the steering is pretty accurate and the body stays nice and level through the bends. It does help that you've got this Alcantara steering wheel, because if your hands are touching Alcantara, instantly whatever vehicle you're in feels sportier. But it is absolutely surprising how this big Land Rover goes down the road. I mean, look at this, I'm just chucking it into some bends and it's gripping and going round. How have they done it? How? It's utter witchcraft. Well done to the engineers who developed the drive on this car. Well done. So then, what's my overall verdict? Is it easy to see why the Land Rover Defender is so popular? Well, yes, I think it is. It's a really good car that's super desirable. But is this 130 V8 the very best of the Defenders? Well, I'm sure you can make your own mind up.